Hello everybody. During this video, I am going to try and very quickly go through some of the America influence information that you have asked for. I am just loading up a screen share so that I can go through some of the bits with you so that you can follow along as I talk through. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet for you. And you can email me any questions at all. So please remember, just get in touch with questions. You should already have had access to these slides from the Google Doc that was posted onto your Google Classroom. So the first study theme that we did in America was looking at American influence. Essentially what that means is, how powerful is America? Why do people want to be friends with America? Why do people not want to anger America? So currently President Joe Biden. When it comes to writing this essay, whichever one you choose, you have to start it with, I have studied America, I have studied the US, I've studied the United States. As a marker, I don't care how you word it, but you have to indicate at the top somewhere of that essay what you have studied. If it does not become clear in your introduction, you can risk not getting any marks. Now, that would be really, really harsh, but if you do not use the term America, US, United States at some point in that essay, you need to make sure that you state that, okay? Just like for any of you who did national, you state your topic. Now, the key questions that can come up here, you will notice that it usually, in fact, I think in every example we've had, I'm just skimming this as I go, in every example that we've had, it uses the word influence. Influence is a word that throws a lot of people off. You need to think of it as, why does that give Americans power? Why does that give the president and the government over in America the power to make decisions? Why does that make them powerful? Why will Britain want to listen to them? Why will Rishi Sunak not upset Joe Biden? I mean, numerous reasons, but that's what it means by influence. How is it changing opinion? How is it controlling things on a grander level? So this did come up here last year as a 20 marker, and it was, although it looks like half a sentence, it's because it will start with, its ability to influence other countries is significant. Break down the question, chunk it down, and see if you need to write on your exam paper roundabout. So if you need to circle a bit of the question, take arrows out. If that's what you need to take a couple of minutes to help focus you, do it. That first question for 2023, its ability to influence other countries, essentially what it means is, how does America get its way internationally? So how does it make sure that the UK doesn't go against it and stab it in the back? How does it make sure Europe doesn't go against it, stab it in the back? How does it make sure that the G7 or the United Nations, or if you've been watching the news and you're looking at the whole Israel-Palestine, Ukraine-Russia, how does America in that way use its power to make others stay on its side and not go against it? It was in the year before, to what extent do they use their influence to protect and promote their own interests? That threw everybody. I remember when I was marking it, people talked about influence, but they neglected that last bit of the question, promote their own interest. i.e., all you had to do was talk about the same things that are going to come up in this, but why does America do it for itself? Why does it do that to protect itself? And people literally would have just had to add on a few words such as, they do this to make sure they benefit financially. They do this to make sure nobody invades America. Literally, why is it protecting and promoting its selfishness even? 2019 question, very straightforward. To what extent does it have influence? You have to give balance. Here's why it's powerful. Here's why it's not powerful. Then we've had a 12 marker. Analyze the ability of this world power. Again, it's all about why can it do that and why is it limited? Okay. We separated this essay out. So we looked at political factors, we looked at economic, and we looked at military. You need to know what those words mean. I can no longer hold your hand on those terms, I'm afraid. You are now at the stage, you should have been months ago, higher modern studies. You need to know what we mean by political. You need to know what we mean by economic. You need to know what we mean by military. If you don't know, you need to go look that up. I'm not going to spend time here. In order to make sure you can have a perfect essay if you want to do this one, I would recommend having 2 for each area. So 2 political, 2 economic, 2 military. Now, I know you're short in time. Your exam's in like 2 weeks. I don't want to scare you. If you're really pushed for time, you could take a risk and learn 1 political, 1 economic, and 1 military, and you could have this as your backup essay. The reason I'm saying that is I don't know if you could have a 12 marker that is talking about analyse the political influence. Now, if you did have that, if you did have a 12 marker that said analyse its political influence, you could still do a bit on economic or military, but make sure you compare it with why political is stronger or weaker. So you really would have to nail it down. I don't think they would do that, but I don't want to lie to you and say 100%. So in an ideal world, if you like this study theme, 2 political, 2 economic, 2 military. If it's a weaker one and this is your backup option as a worst case scenario, I would do 1 strong political, 1 strong economic, 1 strong military. When we looked at this and you go through your notes, and this is where I'm not going to hold your hand going through the Google Doc. The Google Docs were all assigned directly to you on your Classroom. You can edit them, you can highlight them, you can cut bits, you can add bits, you can change words. They're for you to use for your revision, not for me. I made them for you, okay? We have made them and put them together to benefit you, but ultimately it's up to you. If you don't understand something in that Google Doc, delete it or change the wording of it. But that is on you. That is what a lot of you are going to have to do next year or the year after at college and university, is you'll be given text. You need to work out what works for you, what doesn't, what can you work with, what bits might you have to skim over. So if you are looking at doing this essay, here are the sections that I would recommend having a little consideration of. If I was doing this personally, I would be doing United Nations for my political, I would be doing GDP for my economic, and I would do military spending. That is my personal, if I was writing the essay. Don't copy me just because that's what Miss Smith would do. You can get full marks by doing any combination of these. Be kind to yourself. What do you understand? If you don't understand NATO and the Collective Defence Agreement, don't do it. If you do, because you remember a lot of the NATO stuff, if you did National Modern Studies, when we were doing the terror unit, the conflict unit, if you do remember NATO, then talk about NATO, because you can pick up knowledge marks from that. You will also see here I have an ultimately. These are questions as you're revising and constructing draft essays, or I've already said revising, it's that important, that you need to be asking yourself. Why does it make it powerful? Why do countries stay friends with it? Why do they not want to get on the wrong side? Why do they not want to go to war? Why do they want to do what it says? There has literally been examples in the news this week. If you look at the fact that Iran has decided to attack Israel, America and the UK are kind of backing each other up here. Why? Why is the UK agreeing with America on it? Why not go against and do their own thing? What do they risk losing? That's what we mean by influence. I would also think about what you feel is your strongest factor for you here. Do you think political influence is biggest? Do you think economic, or do you think military? There is no one wrong or right answer there. You need to decide what you have evidence for. Because if you get a question where you might have to make a decision on evaluate the most influential part of a world power. Bad wording, okay? It's late in the evening when I'm recording this. But if you had a question, evaluate the impact of the most significant factor, you need to be able to say, what do you think is strongest? Do you think its membership of the UN makes it most powerful to other countries? Do you think its GDP and economy makes it powerful to other countries? Do you think it's NATO? Whatever it is, you need to think about what is the most powerful one. Now, what I have copied into here are the slides. Now, we went through these in class. I have been I've made a really big challenge here, and I'm sure you can't guess the color coding of the boxes. Green on the left-hand side of your screen, for anyone who maybe can't tell the difference in the colours, green on the left here is giving you some positives. Here's why it does have power, it is influential, it does make a difference. The red on the right-hand side is It's not powerful. There are buts, there are howevers. That means when it comes to constructing your Peel paragraphs, you need to be thinking, this one's political influence. Here is how America is politically influential. It is a member of the United Nations. For goodness sake, explain what the UN and Security Council are. The amount of people who don't tell us in essays about what the Security Council is, and they miss a really easy knowledge mark because you explain what that thing is. How many countries are there? 15. How many are permanent? 5. Can you name the 5 permanent? Great, we're on to a winner here. The power of veto. People forget that all the time. They go, oh, America is a member of the United Nations, which is almost every country in the world together. Sorry, at higher, that's not good enough. What we need is the member of the United Nations, an organisation working to protect the security around the globe. It's a member of the Security Council, which has 15 members, 5 of which are permanent. And the key element here is it has the power to veto, which only permanent members have. Boom. That is where you're starting to get higher marks. That's where you're starting to open up those doors, okay? So you need to explain that. If you're doing G7, explain what the G7 is and why it is significant. If you're talking about Trump and North Korea, why is that important? Is it because North Korea is a closed off state and actually it doesn't really agree to meet with any world leaders? So you want to introduce your factor. So member of the United Nations. You want to give me an example of something that it is done or it has passed, or maybe it is vetoed through the United Nations. You should have examples of that. Go and check the Google Doc for the study theme if you don't, because there will be examples on there. There have also been examples, I'm pointing this way, sorry, my TV's in the living room over here, because it's been on the news in the past few months with everything that's going on in the Middle East. Keep up to date. You then would tell me, why is that good? Why does that make it powerful? Why does that make countries want to be friends with it? Why does that give it power across the globe? So far, that's you getting up to 3 or 4 marks in a paragraph. You then want to go through the negatives. Here's why it's not powerful. However, other countries can also veto. However, Russia also has a large amount of control in the Security Council. However, that is where you need that, hold on a minute here. It is not all powerful. America is not a world leader. Yes, if aliens came in, it would probably go to America first because it's one of the largest and most popular countries, but that doesn't mean that it is de facto leader of the world. You need to be able to show how it's limited. Do you have examples of countries not listening to America? You should have, okay? That is where that negative analysis comes in. So tell me the thing, explain or give me detail about that thing. So if it's the UN, what is the UN? What's the power of veto? If it's the G7, what is the aim of this? Tell me about that thing. Give me an example. Tell me why that's good. Why does that give it power? Then why is that not powerful? Why does America not control everything in that element? If it's military, is it the fact, and please remember, it spends the most, it is not largest by number. It does not have the largest amount of soldiers. If you say that it is factually inaccurate, you will not get a mark. It does spend the most though. That's an important point. Then in your link sentence, you want to come back and say, therefore it is largely influential, quite influential, mostly influential, almost completely influential. I would never say it is completely influential because there is always an example of America not getting its way. So I wouldn't say it's 100% influential, but I would think about how, to what extent, how much is it? Now, I'm not going to go through each of these because you can read them yourself. And if you've got questions, email me. Please, please, please email me. I am happy to answer your questions. So you've got economic, you've got military, same idea then. I have also put these down. Now, when I made these, I have different points within them, so you wouldn't talk about every single thing there. What I mean by this is, if you look at the political side here, it has things like diplomacy, soft power, alliances, Secretary of State. You might have UN in there instead and Security Council. You then have things, notice how I mentioned in evidence, G7, G20, NATO and UN. Do you need an example for every single one of those? Thank you. No, you don't. Correct. Okay. If you said yes, pretend you said no. It's easier. Okay. Because otherwise it's just weird. But you want to think about one of those. Analyze, how does it show influence? Okay, relationships, trust. You have ideas here. So when you read through these boxes, you wouldn't put sorry, I'm trying to point at my screen. You wouldn't put every single word that I have there in the political box in a political paragraph. You need to go and pick out the bits that match what you want to say. So for example, if we go into economic in the middle, let's say we've got GDP, stock markets, top global companies. Those are three different things. Some of them we did in detail, some of them I skipped over for time when we were teaching. Let's say I'm going to pick the top global companies. I'm going to talk about how the majority of companies that are on the stock market, that are in the, gosh, I've lost the words, no surprise there. But going to think about all of that, the top global companies, that's going to be my explanation. What do I mean by top global companies? Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Tesla, all these companies that are found in America that are worth billions of dollars. Evidence. Notice there, again, I have three different options. The global recession, the EU rise, and the biggest companies. I'm going to pick biggest companies because that matches my explanation. Are you following? Pause at any point if you're not. So think about that. And again, you've got your analysis. You've got some hints there to help you. So when you go through these boxes, don't just do them all together. Think about what matters for you. I've given you some sentence starters here as well. Again, I'm not going to hold your hand through that. You're all coming up to doing the higher exam, so you need to think about. You can reuse these, you can edit them. There are hundreds of ways to get full marks in this essay, but this might help you a little bit. Okay, giving you some more options there, and I've given you a basic PO structure. At the end, I've also given you some examples that you may not have seen or may not be aware of. You may not need them. Again, do you have to include every single example? No, you don't. We are now at a stage with these 2 weeks to go that we need to streamline and simplify. Think about if this is going to be your week essay, can you get a 14 or 15 out of 20? Do you know what? Can you get a 10 or 12 out of 20? That's still a C or a B. Yes, I want you to aim for 20 out of 20. I want you to smash it. Nothing would make me happier than hearing of you getting blooming 20 out of 20, 12 out of 12. I'd love that. But we have to be realistic that we're into April. And if you're panicking about this, what is realistic? Let's be realistic here. That is what matters and what's going to get you the marks. So that is a very whistle-stop tour on USA influence. Please rewatch, rewind, go back. I know I speak quite quick, but you have it on recording and it'll be uploaded for you. And I'm not going to remove it. It'll stay there, okay? Unless anyone says that something weird happened, then I might have to take it down. I am away to make other videos for you, so I will see you soon.